Ever wonder why some Roman emperors got super paranoid about bedtime songs? Turns out they had good reason. Those sweet lullabies weren't just for sleeping, they were secret codes for assassins, and boy, did they work well. Here's where it gets wild. Roman spies turned nursery rhymes into their own secret language. Take the popular song Marcus in the Garden. Sounds innocent, right? But when sung at specific times, Marcus meant murder, garden meant palace, and the whole tune was basically a how-to guide for sneaking past guards. Spies would teach these songs to kids, who'd sing them everywhere without raising suspicion. The genius part, even if someone caught on, they couldn't stop children from singing. It would look way too suspicious. And since kids naturally spread songs to other kids, messages could travel through the entire empire without a single scroll or whispered word. Pretty clever for a time before TikTok, huh? Let me tell you about the deadliest lullaby in Roman history, the Sleeping Emperor. This sweet-sounding tune helped assassins take down not one, not two, but 3 Roman rulers. The song went something like "Sleep, sleep, mighty king, while the stars watch from above." Sounds harmless, right? Wrong. The stars part actually told assassins which palace window to climb through, and mighty king was code for strike at midnight. Emperor Claudius was the first to fall for it in 54 AD, followed by Galba in 69 AD, and finally Pertinax in 193 AD. Each time, the killers used the exact same song, proving that sometimes the best weapon isn't a sword. It's a catchy tune that gets stuck in your head. Here's a twist that'll blow your mind. Some of Rome's deadliest assassins were women who weaponized their roles as nursemaids and singers. They'd create these super innocent-sounding lullabies about flowers and sunshine, but hidden in the lyrics were deadly instructions. The most famous was a woman named Lucia, who worked as a royal nursemaid. She'd sing about purple roses in the morning light. Sounds sweet, right? But purple meant poison, and morning light told other assassins exactly when to strike. These women were so good at their craft that they could literally sing about murder right in front of their targets. And the best part, they used the stereotype that women were harmless to their advantage. Guards would hear a lullaby and think, "Oh, how cute," while actual death threats floated through the air. Let's crack open Rome's deadliest playlist, where every song was a countdown to chaos. These lullabies worked like a deadly game of musical chairs. The assassins created a system where specific melodies matched specific poisons. The little bird's song meant hemlock was coming, while sweet dreams of spring warned about nightshade. But here's the really wild part. They'd mix and match verses to spell out exactly when and where the poison would show up. A verse about moonlight meant the poison would be in the evening wine. A chorus about roses. That's the signal to check your morning tea. The assassins got so bold, they'd even take requests from nobles, singing these death ballads at fancy dinner parties while the target clapped along. Talk about dying for an encore. Let me tell you about the sneakiest parent-child music lessons in history. Roman servants would teach their kids these super catchy tunes, but they weren't just regular bedtime songs. Each verse was actually a tiny piece of an assassination puzzle. A kid singing about dancing in the kitchen was really telling everyone when the guards changed shifts. Jumping over moonbeams meant which corridors were unguarded. The servants were brilliant. They knew guards would never suspect a 5-year-old skipping around singing about bunnies and moonlight. And these kids? They became the perfect messengers, spreading these deadly plans across the palace while everyone just smiled and thought, "How adorable." It was like having a whole spy network disguised as a children's choir. Let's talk about the eeriest song in Roman history, the lullaby that spelled doom for Emperor Nero. 6 months before his fall, kids started singing this super creepy tune in the streets of Rome. "Golden strings will break by spring when the red bird stops to sing." Everyone thought it was just another kid's song, but it was actually counting down to Nero's end. The golden strings meant Nero's famous lyre would shatter, and that red bird. That was code for the rebellion starting in the east. The wildest part? Nero himself heard it and loved it so much, he had kids perform it at his parties. He literally applauded his own death warrant. The song spread like wildfire through Rome, and right on schedule, in spring of 68 AD, everything it predicted came true. Here's where the story gets really wild. Rome's enemies started catching on to this musical spy game and turned it against the empire. Foreign agents would slip their own coded verses into popular Roman songs. Think about it. A merchant from Parthia shows up singing a traditional song about falling leaves, except leaves meant troops, and falling meant invading next month. The Germans were especially sneaky about it. They'd send traveling performers who mixed battle plans into drinking songs. Roman soldiers would get drunk, sing along, and accidentally spread enemy intelligence across the empire. Some historians think the famous Germanic invasion of 9 AD succeeded because the Romans literally sang their enemies' attack plans at parties. You might think the Praetorian Guard was all muscle and swords, but these guys were surprisingly musical masterminds. They created this brilliant system of melody-based messages that could make or break an emperor's survival chances. Every morning, tune-up of their horns actually contained secret codes. 3 short blasts meant the emperor's safe, while a long note followed by 2 short ones screamed, "He's not going to make it through the night." They even had special marching songs where the rhythm of their footsteps told other guards whether to protect or, well, not protect certain areas of the palace. The craziest part. Some emperors hired personal musicians to decode these deadly tunes, turning breakfast concerts into life-or-death intel briefings. Ready for the darkest bedtime stories in Roman history? These lullabies weren't just songs. They were secret murder diaries. Take the famous Sweet Dreams of the Senate. Sounds innocent, but each verse actually recorded a different political assassination. The melody changed slightly depending on how the victim died. High notes for poison, low notes for stabbing. Parents would sing these modified versions to their kids, passing down a complete record of Rome's bloodiest politics. The really crazy part? These songs survived way longer than any written records. When archaeologists found references to certain political deaths, they matched perfectly with the details in these creepy nursery rhymes. Talk about history's most morbid top hits. Grab your Indiana Jones hat because archaeologists just hit the ancient Roman jackpot. In 2019, they found a stash of crusty old scrolls in a forgotten villa near Naples. But these weren't your boring tax records. They were song sheets. The real kicker? These weren't just any tunes, they were those infamous death songs we've been talking about. One scroll had this super innocent-looking lullaby about butterflies, but when historians cracked the code, they realized it was actually a step-by-step guide for poisoning Emperor Vespasian's wine. The best part? Some of these songs are still floating around today in Italian folk music, though thankfully, nobody's using them for murder anymore. Thanks for joining me on this wild musical journey through Rome's deadliest hits. If you enjoyed these ancient assassination anthems, smash that like button and subscribe for more hidden history. Share it with a friend who loves true crime or catchy tunes.